Hello everyone, welcome to sunny Lancashire, the home of model kit stuff. It's Saturday today. Hooray, the weekend! That means this must be table talk. Yes, hello everyone. It is actually sunny here in Lancashire in the United Kingdom, but that's not how it's been most of the week. It's been more like this. Yeah, that's been my experience of Lancashire every time I've stepped out of the house pretty much this week. So it's really nice to see the sun. It's a lovely crisp autumn, but the garden has been decimated by, we have a great big oak tree at the bottom. Those of you that have seen the garden before know this, and it's just bump and everything's covered in dead oak leaves, and once every 4 years or so it seems to have a mega crop of seeds, and it's really difficult to actually walk in the back garden because you've got all of these acorns everywhere that are so rock hard. So yeah, I'm thinking garden tidy up is on the cards maybe this weekend for me. Anyway, nice to see the sunshine. We take every sunshine moment we can at this moment in time. What I now need is a really good couple of windy days to get rid of all the leaves for me, blow them into the neighbour's garden so I don't have to worry about them. Trouble is I've got high fences, and actually they all sort of stay. They just move around in the garden rather than anything else. If I tidy the garden up, if we get out there and sweep it all up and bin all the leaves, what will happen is we'll have a windy day immediately afterwards, and all the remaining leaves that are still on the tree will go dump in the garden. It'll be like I've done nothing. So I do tend to try and hold off as long as I can until the tree's shredded, but I would say only about 25% of the leaves are down yet, though it is a devastating amount of leaves in our small back garden. Anyway, there we go. So a big warm welcome to you all. Nice to see you all, especially if you're a new subscriber, and especially if you're a new member. We've had some new members join recently, which is really nice. Great to see you. Now, I have had a member, I'm just going to mention one member by name, because now sent me 3 emails, all from different or slightly different email addresses, it seems, who's trying to get into the social group. I have replied to you know who you are. I have replied to all 3 of your emails. So if you've not seen my replies, you need to go and check your junk mail, because I have replied to you and I have given you the instructions on how to get in to the social group on each occasion. And yet you've come back and asked again with a different address. So I don't know, I know in your last one you thought maybe I wasn't getting the emails. I think you're just not getting the replies. So you know who you are. If you've sent me 3 emails and struggling to get a response to get into the social group, honestly, I have replied. Sometimes I can be a little slow on replying. I get a lot of emails and I work and I have family, so I can't always jump on it straight away. So please be mindful of that. Okay, right then. Shall we start with what happened last week? So we started off the week that's just gone on Monday with a quick tip. We've not done a quick tip for ages, and it was actually really nice to do one. And What I've traditionally done with quick tips is, as I've been doing something different or what have you, I've sort of taken it out and turned it into a standalone video, which is exactly what I did. I was working on the Lady Eleanor. I was talking about it in that build, and I thought, actually, here's an opportunity to do a quick tip. And I've sort of got out of the habit of doing it, but also I've not really been doing any builds where a quick tip has really come along. I think I just need to be a little bit more focused on finding them. The problem is, when I'm building and I'm filming and I'm talking, I'm sort of, the process is rolling along. I haven't got time to sit back and go, actually, is this something we should film separately as a quick tip? So I sort of need to get into that mindset a little bit. The real thing is finding the balance between sharing knowledge in builds so that people watch the builds, and taking out the quick tips so that people can see the quick tips. So the little thing on how to make a panel that we did on Monday, people will watch that who've perhaps not seen the channel before, and that might make them then look at the channel, and they might then choose to subscribe. So there's a benefit to it, but at the same time, when I'm talking about how to do it in a build, people go, oh, I've seen this, they did a video on it. So it is a bit of a duplication, and I've always been a little bit uncertain about the best way to go, but I think people do like the quick tips. And when we've talked about in the past about what's important to the channel and what we want to keep, and what we're sort of not wanting to keep, people often say it's learning something new, it's seeing a different technique, that they want to try. So I think people are interested in the quick tips, but with me reducing the video content because of time pressures. Monday, where traditionally a quick tip, a tool review, a product review would sit, we've done less of them. And so that has ended up with me sort of dropping them and not really thinking about them. So what's going to happen is, because we talked about doing less first impressions as well, that Wednesday slot will sort of become the slot for those, and I'm going to try and do more quick tips and what have you, because there's only an infinite number of tools and products you can review. So you're then left with little tips and techniques, and like I say, you have to think about them, because I do things naturally without thinking, and then I go, I should have, if I'd filmed that differently, I could have used that segment and framed it with an introduction and what have you. Anyway, we managed to do it with the panel. A nifty little trick, really, really simple to do. And although I've done it with purpose woodworking chisels, you don't have to. The little flat chisel blades, X-Acto chisel blades, will do just as well. They'll do a good job of them. So it's a nice little tip. It's great for things like scratch building your own doors on a 1:35 scale diorama as well. It would work in exactly the same way. I mean, it's just a nice way of improving the decoration. And I've done it on the companionway side panels, and also on, I think it's not the boom rest, something else. There's a decorative panel. Oh yeah, it could be the boom rest. Anyway, it does enhance the look of it. And it's dead easy to do. So do a little bit of practice on some scrap. But yeah, there you go. If you are interested in how to improve the look of your panels, if you're doing wooden modelling, then that's a good little video to make sure you've not missed. Okay, then we have had the 109, that's not a 109 in post-war Czech service. Edward kit that was lent to me some time ago, maybe a year ago. I mean, I got this big box full of kits, and I've filmed them all, and they've been sort of filtering out. I mean, there was a few months where I didn't do anything with them because I had other stuff planned, and then what I've done is I've used them in between other stuff that I've got, but I've got a pile of kits of my own yet to film for first impressions. So I mean, I thought first impressions would dry up during the course of this year, but one way or another they haven't, and I haven't really bought much. And then we're going to go to Telford, and we're going to buy a load more. Inevitably we'll have some stuff for filming, so that'll get us off into 2026. Okay, so all coming along nicely on that front. So I've still got plenty of content for the channel, which is good, because the first impressions is what has mainly brought people into the channel in the first place. So people do enjoy the first impressions videos. It would be nice to do more new releases, but this year has been so boring on the modelling front. And I don't know whether that's a change in me or a change in, just the releases that have come out this year just haven't really spoken to me. But I rather think it might be a change in me. My centre of gravity, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, is changing when it comes to modelling. So yeah, interesting. I've found I'm starting to think of some models as being a little bit mundane, and as new kits get released I go, oh, it's just another one of those, and you'll spray it green, and it's not. I think, and I said this last week, that's why the cars theoretically are quite tempting, because you can personalise them, you can do something different, whereas another Spitfire, you're going to do it like a Spitfire. Another American tank is going to be another olive drab tank, and the whole thing becomes a bit drab, not just the colour. So I don't know. What is actually interesting though is doing something different, like the Eagle and the General Lee, is really making my creative juices flow. So really enjoying both of those builds, and I think maybe it's just that change. So that might be all I need. It might be just I need greater variety. And lots of you always say that one of the things you like about my channel is the fact that there's always variety. And yeah, we'll always keep the variety. And certainly that little Edward kit was a nice little kit. Lots of similarities to a 109, but different markings, slightly different look. I think it speaks to a lot of people who might be aircraft builders, because it is just a little bit off-piste. They have re-released that kit. There's different box art, so if you're going to Telford, that could be one to look out for at the Edward stand there. So yeah, I bought their Mustang last year, and I've still not filmed the first impressions of it. So yeah, what I will do is during the course of the next 2 or 3 weeks, I will go through all of the people that have got a stand at Telford, and I'll identify the ones I'm interested in, and then I'll go and look at the websites and see what they've got in stock, what's current, what's new, and anything I'm interested in will get listed, and then we'll go with this shopping list. So when I'm at Edward, I know to look out for what have you. So yeah, that's another aside, isn't it? But yeah, a lovely little kit actually, fairly standard Edward fare. Yeah, and it was quite popular with people. So yeah, interesting that we've seen a little bit of increase in activity this week with the channel. So I have 3 metrics that measure the channel's performance, and they are views, watch time, and revenue. And YouTube give you, on your sort of dashboard page, they give you these 3 little metrics, as you can then dive in and look at the granularity behind that to a certain extent. So the income matrix has been okay, but the other two have been down for the last 3-4 months, and you expect that in the summer it naturally drops. And what happened is, as we came out of the winter and the quiet season came, they dropped. You expect that, but they usually bounce back sort of September time, and they didn't. And we talked about this 1 or 2 weeks ago, and they just didn't bounce back. Whereas usually I find in the winter you see some growth with them. Well, this week is the first week where we've restored back to average, rather than down on average. So income is steady, and the other two matrix are on average. So more watch time hours, more people watching. So I don't know whether it's just been a slow pickup or whether it's just been an interest in the last couple of first impressions that I've done, or whatever it is. But it looks like the channel's back on normal behaviour, as I would see it. Okay, last night you should have seen Eagle 3. There's no reason why you wouldn't have. It's Wednesday as I'm recording this, so I don't know. But I have already loaded it up at this point, which has been unusual for me the last few months. But yeah, we got ahead, and that is uploaded and ready to go. So I have it in private. All I got to do is flick the setting over and set it up as a premiere. So yeah, Eagle Part 3 is ready to go as we speak. And I'm not sure, I can't remember what was in that. I think we're on some of the cleanup, and it's always a bit of a funny one, cleanup, because there's part of me thinks you're not interested in seeing me sanding bits of plastic. However, the number of times I've been asked, how do you sand things? What sandpaper do you use? What's your process? It's surprising. So you get people that say, you know, what's it's like they want a scientific explanation. So the basic process is very simple. You start with coarse grit, you go to work your way to fine, and every time you change grit, you go in a different direction. Those are your basic principles. And then if I was to add something onto that, it would be make sure you clean your whatever your sanding stick is, your sandpaper, your silicone paper, whatever it is you need, make sure you clean it regularly, and at the end of the process to stop clogging, getting pushed in. That's it. But I get asked it a lot. So yeah, I mean, I've never considered myself to be sort of a tutorial style channel. I've always been more of a review and build channel. And when I say review, it's more sort of putting it out there so that you can see whether you're interested in it or not. That's always been the sort of my philosophy, if you like, for the channel has always been, let's just build stuff and talk about it, and then talk about the things that feed into that, tools, products, and so on. So I've never, unlike some channels, I've never been one to say, hey, I'm going to teach you how to be a modeler. I'm not really into that. The reason I started doing the absolute beginners ones is because one of my subscribers said to me, well, I made a comment that, you know, I'm just an average modeler, and you know, it's not for me to show you stuff. And someone said, you might be an average modeler, but you know more than me. And I suddenly realised that I've got knowledge that other people would benefit from, and that's where we originated with the quick tips, and then what then became the thought process that ultimately led to the absolute beginners. And so I have shared what I know, but that's still slightly different than me saying this is how to be a modeller, because at the end of the day there's several different ways to tackle everything, and you can tackle the same problem in different ways on different models, depending on your mood, depending on the weather, depending on how you're feeling. And I also try things that I learn, and we'll be coming back to that later on. Okay, so that then takes us to what happened on the bench. Well, a couple of things. Well, I suppose we must start with last Friday night, because last Friday night I had a bit of a disaster. Some people that were in the chat watching the build last week of Lady Eleanor Part 3 will know this. I was working on the it's just become an utter disaster, if I'm honest. Anyway, I've always been warts and all, so let me show you. So as it's approaching time for the build to come on, so that's 9 PM UK time, it's always a premiere, there's always people in the live chat. It's one of my highlights of the week. I really enjoy it. I like catching up with people. We put the video on, people watch the video, I think, and then have a chat, and we'll start off finding out how everyone is, and then a topic might break out or something might come out of the video. That's how it goes. And I have painted my blue during the week on the Lady Eleanor, as it happens. So I'd left it 2-3 days, something like that. And what we'd done is we'd sprayed it white. Then we'd masked it off and we'd sprayed the blue. I didn't like it. I didn't like the blue. So I decided I needed to change it. And I did something. I just had a moment where I thought, do you know what? Let's just try. So I got the rudder and I coloured the blue in using an AK pen, and it looked really good. So I then went over all the blue on this in an AK pen, and it was fabulous. Now, I had used Tamiya enamel for the blue originally, and we went over with the AK pen, and the colour that you're seeing here is that AK pen. So all of this is AK pen, marker pen. So I'm really happy with the blue. And so now I needed to take the masking off the white, and then I needed to mask off the blue and the white so that we could then do the red. So my plan was to leave the masking tape on the white, put masking tape over the blue, and then spray down the red for the lower hull. So I put my first bit of masking tape on over the blue, and the blue had been, like I say, coloured in with the pen and then had been sealed with polyurethane satin gloss, and it gives it a really glorious finish. It's beautiful, it is. So I put it on, and then I realised it wasn't quite straight, so I slowly peeled the first bit off, and the first bit was going from there all the way along to about there, so 3/4 of the length of the line. So I peeled it off, and it took the enamel paint off with it. It just came off. So the enamel paint was on top of the sprayed white paint, which was the Kaleido paint. The Kaleido paint didn't move at all. It was rock solid. The Tamiya enamel paint, it peeled off in a sheet. The full width of that, wherever the masking tape was, it just lifted off completely. Utter disaster. So what I've had to do is, I mean, I was just and this happened while the video was playing. So what I've had to do is go back over it with the pen and patch it back in, which I've done, and then I've got to clear coat it again. But yeah, not happy with the enamel paint peeling off. So there's no reason why that should have happened, but I can run, I mean, this is the enamel paint here, and I can run my finger along it, and you can see how easy it's scratching. That is pants. So that was a learning for me, that I didn't want to learn that way. So it'll be fine. You know, we'll touch it up, and the rest of the videos will look at that side and not this side. But yeah, but the AK pen blue looks really cool. So yeah, I've got to do the red. I can't put masking tape on the blue. So my thought process is I'm gonna hand paint the red, and I've got some touch up to do on the white paint. And we can hand paint that in because it is a bit of touch up. Now I'm going to be weathering this anyway. I intend, as part of the build process, to share some weathering techniques. So it's not going to be like a fishing boat with figures on a stand in showroom condition. We're going to weather it so it looks the part. You could put it in a seascape, that sort of thing. But yeah, I was so annoyed. I was extremely polite in the chat, I can tell you. It's not what was going through my head. Anyway, poor old lady's had a setback. Not due to do any work on lady till next week, but I might get in there and brush paint the red, and then I can touch up the white stripe. Anyway, so that was the first thing that happened. Then we've, I think last time you saw this it was black. Now it's not again. So this is like glass now. We've polished this up. What was the, I can't remember, 2400 grit, something like that was the last grit we used on it. So though it looks a bit like an old barn find, it is absolutely super smooth all over. So it's ready for another prime. And it is going to be worked on this coming week. So I'm happy with it. I'm happy with the finish. We're going to be doing the next prime as a serious one, ready for main painting. So we won't be doing black. What we're going to do is we're going to use the Kaleido grey, which is a very pale grey, and use see if that brightens up the orange a little bit. But yeah, we are almost at the point where we can do the bodywork, so that's pretty exciting. Now, while we're talking about that, at the same time, I did a little ask for help amongst the members from the social group, and to get some parts 3D printed for the General Lee. And Ian, a massive thank you to you, stepping up and saying, yeah, we can do that. So he shared with me some pictures. He had some successes last weekend. Other stuff he felt he wanted to redo. He said there was a reason. I can't remember what it was, but I didn't really get what he was talking about. Something to do with the orientation of the parts when printing them. But I think. But Ian, a massive thank you to you for doing this. It's massively appreciated. And as soon as you're happy with the parts, let me know and we can sort out shipping and covering costs and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, so even though I have made door handles, I've got door handles being printed, I was really mainly after the door handles for the inside. They look pretty cool. And then while we were at it, we've got some extra things. So we've got like the sun blinds that fold down and internal roof light and stuff. So really going to add some detail to that. So looking forward to getting my hands on those parts. But the main thing we did this week was, it was Eagle Week, and it is primed in the main. So I had a massive session on Monday night where we had the paint booth out and we were painting. So this is the Black Kaleido primer that's gone down on this. It's such a good primer. It's my favourite primer, straight from the bottle, no messing, and yeah, it's just really, really nice. So that's our top frame that joins the back and front together. So I'll show you some of the key parts. This is the back end, the engines. None of this is glued together, so I can just pop these bits off. But it was easier to paint them like this. So these can all be glued together, but I'm actually going to disassemble them for painting them white, because we're going to do a very different process for painting than we've used for priming. Now, I still have some priming to do, so the inside of the bells aren't done, and the other engine bells aren't done. But we've got the command module there, that's upside down. So that's all done, and I'm happy with, you know, you can't see the join. So happy with that, that's looking good. The shoulders all look, don't know what that is, all look great. So they're all done, and various bits and pieces around them. We've got these frames done, and I've actually painted these as separate parts. I'm just storing them together, but they're all separate parts. As a upper frame and a lower frame, and the box I can separate out for painting. So they can all be painted now. So what we're going to do is we're going to treat each element as a model in its own right. So the command module outer hull will be treated as one project, and we will paint it and we will decal it and we'll make it perfect, and then we'll move on to the next thing. So it won't be, right, I've got the off-white paint out, let's paint it all. It won't be working like that. I'll be doing it a little bit at a time, making progress in some areas and other areas not being touched. Doing that will help me focus on detail and detailing, so that's sort of the plan. But yeah, everything's come together really well. The main pod was the biggest problem, because it's so big and you've got to paint all the surfaces of it. So I started by painting about half of it, and then left that to dry while I did everything else, then came back to it and painted more of it. It's really difficult to handle. Plus the drying time on these primers is a little slower than typical acrylic primers. Think more like lacquer primers in terms of drying time, which of course is what gives it good self-leveling properties. And self-leveling just means slow drying, realistically. The slower it dries, the more it will, you know yourself, if you put paint on with a paintbrush and the paint's not been thinned and it's too thick and you can see the brush marks, but it's an enamel paint, you come back to it and it's dry and they've gone. It's like magic. Well, it's just had time to settle, because the drying time is that bit slower. So yeah, it just behaves lovely. So that's the back of the module, command module, all done. And I have done some work on the strapping, because the strapping was two parts come together and you got a big gap in it. It was nice to sort of find a way to make that so much better. So there's no gap in it. I don't know whether you can see that. You will do eventually. And we've got the inside of the command module primed up, so that's ready to go. Ready for our buff and orange and what have you to go in there. Some other bits done. The top side of the landing feet done. And we've got all sorts of framework primed as well. So all the framework got built this weekend. It was mainly framework we worked on. The framework, the back engine bell assembly, which can all be disassembled now. So yeah, I'm really happy with how that's come along. But the build process will slow down a little bit now, because what will happen, like I say, is we'll deal with it sort of one bit at a time. So we'll do engine bells 1 week sort of thing and get them perfect. So they're aluminium, so get them look like aluminium, then get some heat staining on them and what have you. On the inside of them, they are black. Completely black when you look at the TV program. So I need to think about whether how I want to show that. I'd like the outer part of the inside of the engine bell to be slightly different shade of black than the back end maybe, and we've got these little bits that go in them. So there's all little things that I want to play around with, and then I've got to think about paint masks and decals and so on. So happy with the progress on that this week. So that's what happened on the bench. Next week it's General Lee, and we'll be focusing on wiring the engine amongst other things. So I want to talk about that because it feeds into the topic for this week. Hi, hope you're enjoying the video. I put a lot of effort into making these videos, putting them together, recording them, editing. It takes up so much time. I would really love it if you could just hit that like button for me. It will take you a fraction of a second and it costs you nothing, and it means so much to me and the channel, and will help other people who might enjoy this video find it. You done it? Thank you. So before we go into the topic, let's just talk about what's coming up next week, because I know you like to know if I know, and I don't always know. We are going to start the week. Where's me? What have I done with my mouse? There we go. We're going to start the week on Monday with members only wheelie thing build, not an update, part 2 of the General Lee. So I've got a lot of content on the General Lee now. So some Mondays we're going to have that members only stuff. So that is for the paid members only to see. I think it's not all members will be able to see it. We talked about that before. I don't need to go over it. But yeah, General Lee Part 2 will be out. Yeah, that'll be cool. I'm looking forward to that. I haven't edited it yet, so I quite enjoy editing that. It's fun. Then we're sticking with the car theme on Wednesday, and the GTO I showed you last week. We're going to do the first impressions of that. So yeah, that will be interesting as well. And then on Friday we've got part 4 of the Panzer. I'm not sure whether that's going to finish the Panzer off or not. I suspect possibly not. We might be a 5-parter there, because we've got decals to do and figure painting we've just done. So tank paint, I don't know. I suspect it's 5, because we've also got to do the base, haven't we? Yeah, I suspect it's 5. Could be 6. Don't know. But yeah, that's the plan for next week. And then, so you'll see we're sort of doing Eagle, Panzer, Lady Eleanor. So when the Panzer's finished, then I don't know what's going to happen, because I've only got 2 builds that are sort of producing into that, because the General Lee will remain a members only, and I don't particularly want to do a members only on a Friday night, although most of the people that watch it live are members. Not everyone is. So we might end up doing 1 or 2 live streams. I mentioned last week that there's a new sort of live streaming functionality on YouTube, which, unlike when you do it through StreamYard, actually you can get better revenue flow. So I need to understand it. I haven't had a play with it yet. I keep saying I will, keep not finding time. But yeah, there we go. Right, next thing is Telford. So if you're a member, it looks like only members that are in the social group are really interested in meeting up. So some of you have commitments. I have shared in the social group the pub, and I have shared the time. If you are a member and you're not a member of the social group, and you are going to be there on the Saturday night and you'd like to come along, you're more than welcome. Drop me an email, modelkitstuff@gmail.com, and I will share with you the pub and the times. So I'm going to go and sit down and have a meal, and then probably an hour after that, people turn up and have a drink. And though at least one other person said they'll come along at the same time and have something to eat. I mean, we've all got to eat, haven't we, at the end of the day? So yeah, and it's not far away from where I am, hotel-wise, or even the main Telford event. So should be accessible to most people. It's got good reviews on TripAdvisor. I think it's still open. So I think what we're going to do, for those of you that are members that are going, we might do a little swapping of mobile numbers so that if something changes, we're all contactable. Anyway, we'll sort that out in the social group. So yeah, that I think covers everything I wanted to talk about. Other than, if you're not on Facebook, and I know some of you aren't, and maybe even many of you aren't, I don't know. ICM this week shared with everyone on Facebook the terrible news of the damage to their facilities that was actually done in August, and they hadn't shared it before. So a Russian missile landed just next to the building, I think, which did quite a bit of damage to one side of the building. Nobody who works for ICM was a casualty or injured or anything, is my understanding. But obviously it's done some damage to the business. There's a cost to repairing that, financial cost to them. So if you've never bought an ICM kit and you'd like to support a cracking business that makes great models, who are doing remarkable to keep going under wartime conditions and keep things turning over, then now's the time to go and buy yourself an ICM kit, I think. And we'll perhaps do a first impressions of the ICM kit that I showed you the other week, and maybe we'll dedicate it to ICM or something. Right then, so I bought a little something this week. It's called wire wrapping wire. I have no idea what it is. So why did I buy it? Well, I bought it because it was suggested that it was a good solution on a YouTube channel. So with me currently building the General Lee, I've been watching some modelling channels that are car focused. Because, it's like anything, there's specific tips for specific genres of modelling. And like you guys, I watch other modelling YouTube channels to get tips and tricks. And I used to subscribe to one. I've stopped subscribing because I decided I wasn't getting enough out of it. And we'll come back to that, I think, in a moment. But this guy was wiring up his engine, and he used this wire wrapping wire. And it's a massive spool of it. Comes in multiple colours. And you know what? It's the same sort of gauge as the really expensive stuff that you buy in the packs. Yeah? So you can get specific wire for wiring engines and doing cable runs and your spark plug wires and all of that sort of stuff. And I thought to myself, well, if this does the same thing, why wouldn't I buy that? So I went and bought it, and I think this cost me 12 quid, and it'll see me out. I mean, that'll be something my daughter's got to chuck away one day, because I don't need it anymore when I'm, pushing up daisies. So, just look how deep it is. that'll see me out, because I don't wire up that many engines really. But it's brilliant. It's got whatever the alloy is in the middle, it's completely posable, so I can bend it into shape and it holds its shape. I mean, absolutely perfect. Great gauges. We've got brown, black, blue, orange, red, green, yellow, all colours that you might use in an engine bay, one way or another. But a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of the price of buying what I suspect is the same stuff in a little packet from a modelling site selling you wires for your model car. Now, this got delivered, and then the next day, one of the members, a chap called Mark, good friend of the channel, and long-term member, and one of my moderators in the social group, dropped me an email and said, "I've just bought some tape, and I nearly bought it from a modelling site. I think this is correct, and it was going to cost me X amount, £16 or something like that. The figures might be wrong, but you're going to get the idea." So he did a little bit of fishing on the internet, and he found it for £2 somewhere else. So, all right, he's got a longer waiting time to get it delivered because it's coming from outside of the UK. But if you're not in urgent need for it, why wouldn't you? And I have said this before, but absolutely, modelling, or any hobby to a certain degree, but modelling in recent years has become like getting married. Okay, and you know, that could go off on all sorts of tangents, you know. But what I mean by it is, it's like fruitcake, wedding cake, both the same, but one's an awful lot more expensive than the other. So it's like modelling tool, wire stripper. Same thing, different packet, different retailer, way different price. You know, it's the same with all sorts of stuff. How many tools that you see that are peddled as for modelers, but actually are something that somebody else uses. So we talked recently about this vortex mixer. There are people selling that at silly prices in silly boxes, and it's a standard product that you can buy for all sorts of things. Yeah, you have to be careful and you have to shop around. Now, you also have to be careful about being a responsible purchaser too. So, you know, when I say that, I mean there are companies out there that might be using things like child labour and, you know, irresponsibly sourced raw materials, and then they sell through places, and I'm not going to mention any names obviously, but then they sell through places where multiple sellers come together in one page, and you've got loads of products that you can buy, and some of them are run by companies outside of your country, and when you shop like that, and it's easy to do this on the internet, when you shop like that, you are potentially losing control of the values of your country. So certainly within the European Union, and it applies largely to the UK because we've not been out of the European Union long enough for us to have gone backwards. There are all sorts of laws about responsibility of manufacture and proving that, and ecology, and you know, all of those things apply to the thing you purchase because it has to be proved. Yeah, so I work in procurement, so I know about this. So we know about responsible procurement, and when we recruit a supplier, we have questionnaires. We check what's their carbon footprint. We check are they using child labour? Will they sign up to agreeing to not use child labour? Are they paying a fair wage? All of that sort of stuff. Are they growing responsibly? Do they have their products aren't being sourced utilising rainforest products? All of this sort of stuff. And it gives the buyer some form of reassurance that they're not buying into something they don't want to buy into. So you have to be really careful. Sometimes the things that are massively cheaper are poorer quality. Sometimes the things that are massively cheaper are a Me Too version. So by all intents and purposes, look okay, but you don't know what the background is. And as the buyer, it's increasingly difficult to know that. And even if you buy it in your own country, it can be difficult because people can't import en masse and then sell through sites such as eBay. And I'm not singling eBay out at all, or saying even that eBay don't do checks. But I've sold stuff through eBay, and eBay have never checked with me where those things came from. But I'm not really referring to eBay. There's other recent sites that promote themselves very heavily at the moment, and some YouTubers have even shared some of their products and things. And you have to be very careful because you don't know the source origin. And it's a bit like buying clothes that have been made in countries with very low wages. Where's your morality? Similarly, at the other end, there's really expensive products because people are just trying to take the mickey. They're opportunist, profiteering, and since the decline of bricks and mortar shopping, there is a massive increase in fraud, in people manufacturing products that they don't have the intellectual property to, importing things that are dangerous. And it's a real challenge for countries to manage what comes into the country. And we see it in if we take vape for example, and not obviously a non-modelling product, but people are worried about how many children can access vape. Well, most of those are illegal vapes that have been brought into the country illegally and are not sold through reputable supermarkets, for example. So if you buy a vape in Tesco's or Asda or Sainsbury's, behind the counter where the tobacco is, you've bought that from a reputable manufacturer who does all the things I've just said as procurement. They've checked all the supply chain out. They're using the appropriate products. They've got tests, procedures, scientific research. As opposed to someone mixing it in a bucket in their bedroom in Vietnam and supporting and chucking it into this country and selling it for £1 at the market to kids. That's the problem. So how do you navigate through all that? Well, it's very, very difficult. So what I'd say is use trusted sites. Always shop around, compare prices. Don't use sites that are not necessarily trusted, and try not to use homegrown sites. So if a company is trading in this country and is registered as a business in this country, you know that it has to behave ethically. If a company is trading in this country, it's supposed to trade ethically, but you can't guarantee it, particularly if you're internet shopping. So, a little word of warning. It wasn't quite the topic I was gonna talk about, but yeah, it's a minefield. Now, I bought this from Amazon, and I shopped around, and it was about the same price everywhere. So I got it from Amazon, and I didn't pay for premium delivery and all of that sort of stuff. Just get it to me when you can get it to me. So I got it free delivery, I think, and all good. But a lot of people use Amazon a lot. Trusted, responsible buyer. Well, don't pay the taxes as well as we'd like, but and they've got different parts of the world, they have different ways of working. But in the main, you trust Amazon to be working responsibly, but it doesn't necessarily mean that their prices are the best. So shop around. Have a look. There are people selling stuff through Amazon that you can buy cheaper somewhere else, and quite often from small businesses. I personally like to try and support small businesses. So if I can buy a modelling tool from a modelling shop that also has a website as a way of supporting their shop, that's my preference, even if I pay £1 or £2 more. So there is a balance. We all have different budgets, we all have different needs, but I would say to everyone, just think about your purchases. Purchase with a little bit of intelligence. Don't just focus on what's best for you, focus on what's best for the industry, for the planet, just shop with a bit of care and integrity. Okay, right. With that out of the way, that's not what we was going to talk about this week. The topic for this week is the benefit of YouTube to modelling. So, I bought this. And I bought this because I watched a YouTube channel, and the YouTube channel was saying, this is what I use for wiring. And I thought, that's a good idea. I've taken his advice. I've gone and sourced it. He didn't give me a link or anything to say this is where you get it from. I had to do an internet search to find out what wire wrapping wire was. Seems to be something for electronics. Don't know. But it's a brilliant product, and I'm so happy I've got it. I personally have learned all sorts of things from watching YouTube modelers. And I personally think that whilst it's not massively moved my hobby on, what it does do is it gives me different ideas that I can then go and explore in the way I would like to explore them. So wire wrapping wire, use this wire, don't use that wire. I got a tray of different wires. It's just another thing, and I could use that for all sorts of stuff. So that's a great little product. It doesn't fundamentally change how I'm going to wire up the engine or what I would have done. I'm just using a different product for it. And it gives me some advantages because you've got the colours, so it saves me some time and it saves me some money. So that, for me, that was good advice. But I'm interested about you. Do you feel that internet, YouTube particularly, helps you progress your hobby? Some people refer to YouTube as YouTube University. I don't quite see it like that. Because a lot of what is said on YouTube is, let's be polite, subjective. And what one person believes another person doesn't believe, and that's all fine. So I think it's a useful resource for feeding ideas. And when I do my channel, that's sort of where I am. I'm sharing what I do because it might give you ideas. But what do you think? Is YouTube something that you find interesting to watch? Or is it something that you actually use to progress your hobby, and you actually search out technique to do something? Certainly a lot of people come to my channel through first impressions. So that's people wanting to see kit reviews. And maybe have come across a tool review or a product review, and then that's made them to go, well, what else is on the channel? So is that what it's about for you? I mean, it can be a very solitary hobby, can't it? So is it a way of connecting with other people? I think Facebook is probably better at doing that, but it's also horrendous. It's such a horrid place, Facebook, unless you're in my social group, which is it's a modeller's paradise. My social group. We don't have any trouble, is what I'm actually saying, which is paradise compared to the rest of Facebook. But yeah, is it a learning space for you? Should I be doing more quick tips and stuff like that? Is that something that you guys would find a benefit, or is it it's another aspect of your hobby? It's something to listen to while you're doing your hobby. You know, I know a lot of you listen to this video whilst you're doing something else, and that could well be modelling. Because you don't have to look at this video. You can have it on in the background and just listen to it. And there is channels that I watch, not to watch but to listen to. So Ron Calvary's The Model Ship. I listen to that. And if he's talking about something specific and I want to just reference what he's talking about, I might glance at it. I often have it on while I'm working. So the same with other channels. You know, it's sort of, I can turn and look at it for certain bits, whereas other channels, they are channels that you have to watch, and so I watch them less frequently because I don't really have time for watching stuff. So I don't hardly watch TV anymore. Some evenings I sit down with my partner and we watch our guilty pleasures. One of which is The Tulsa King, which is Sylvester Stallone. If you've not seen it, it's on, I think it's on Paramount. It's absolutely brilliant. It's either on Paramount or Disney. It's definitely not on Netflix. And then Paula quite likes Married at First Sight, and I end up watching quite a bit of that, and I'm going to stick with my excuse as to why I've watched every episode so far. But yeah, we all have our little guilty pleasures, things that we watch, but for YouTube a lot of it is listening. So is YouTube modelling channels a resource of learning or a resource of accompanying the hobby, or just an interesting additional aspect to the hobby? Or you know, I'm interested to know what you use modelling channels for. That's going to help me with some thoughts that I might have going forward on the channel, to what to do more of, what to do less of. So please share your thoughts. I'm always interested in your comments. So please hit the like button, hit the comment button, put a little comment in. I massively appreciate it. If you remember, I'm going to prioritise answering you, but I do read them all. So thank you very much for your time. You enjoy your modelling hobby. I'll be back same time, same place next week. Someone used to say that. Was that an American programme? I don't know. But same time, same place next week. And until then, you enjoy your modelling. Bye for now.